Hey, we're back. It's August. I read 9 books this month. I didn't realize I read that many. I'm super excited. This was a really good set of 9. I'm actually genuinely excited to recommend. So, all right, let's get right into it. First up is a 4-star for me. This one is called You Are Here by David Nicholls. This book was really sweet. It's a romance. It's set in the UK, in England specifically, and it takes these main characters. Their friends are trying to set them up with other people on this hike. So they have like a hike that they go on as a group of friends, and both of the characters are newly divorced. One is actually not quite divorced yet, but they're sort of, out of sorts, and their friends are trying to get them to socialize more, and so they have mutual friends, and they end up both being invited actually to kind of be set up with other people, but they meet each other. And so there's this one guy who's he's a hiking enthusiast, and part of it is tradition from his family, and part of it is liking to be alone. And feeling a sense of accomplishment. And he's a teacher. He's a high school teacher of, I want to say it's English or of geology. Of geology. And so obviously being in nature, rocks, all those things, that's his thing too. And then the other character, Marnie, she is a copy editor, copy editor, which I am fascinated by that job. I think in another life that's the job I want. So she can work anywhere, and she gets invited on this trip, and she goes, and so in the end they get thrown together, and other people leave, like decide not to cancel the trip, not to continue on the trip, but they decide to, he's definitely gonna stick it out because he does this all the time. She's new to this, so she bought a whole bunch of gear, and there's like, the reality of it for her, like not being a cakewalk, you know what I mean? And then they bond over this hike, and they have conversations, in between, trying to be set up with other people, in between their friends ditching the hike and stuff like that. And they kind of like fall in love along the way, and they have a hiccup, and I won't go into what it is, but it was really sweet, and sweet in not like there's some romances that are just like nauseating, which I still read, love. But it's one of those that, you could recommend to your grandma. There was a book like that, and funny enough, it was also set in the UK. A couple months back, I reviewed an advanced reader copy of one called The Book Swap. It's like that, it's just like a romance that's realistic. It's about two normal people. It's not your they're gorgeous people, but they're not super attractive, like gym type, like people write into romances because you can design anything you want. So I really liked this book. I would read it again. I would buy a physical copy, because other than the fact that it was a great story, this author is the type that gives you new vocabulary. Like I had to go into my dictionary a couple times, and I love that. I love books with chapters with titles. I have that as a separate tag on my Goodreads, because I think that's special when the author is like able to actually give each chapter a title that takes a certain amount of forethought, a certain amount of like dedication, instead of just slapping chapter number on it, And then also, why I really like this book, it has maps. So remember, they're on a hike, and they're going through this English countryside, and it's got maps for each of the towns they visit and stuff. And I think there's an author's note on the back where 1 or 2 of the maps aren't real, but most of the places are real, or a couple of the places, the towns they stop in aren't real, but the maps of the areas are real. Yeah, that's it. So there are these line maps, and I thought that was so special. Authors' books, they're just trying to write and move on sometimes, and rightfully so. They have book deals, 3-4 books they have to write in X amount of time. Ain't nobody got time to be doing all of these visuals. So I really appreciate it when we get something else, So 4 out of 5. Yeah, I really liked that one. All right, so book number 2 this month is called Trust Exercise by Susan Choi. This book I gave 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5 stars. 4 out of 5. I was on the fence about this. This book is special because it's okay, so it bounces between timelines. It can be confusing. If you're looking for a book club pick, this is a very good book club pick. If you run a book clubs, okay, I'm gonna take a segue here. I'm gonna take a little break here. I personally think I've discovered the formula for a book club pick. It is to pick a book where either one, the characters are so frustrating you want to fight them, and people, it doesn't matter if you're a genteel spirit or if you're super aggressive, you just want to fight them. Okay, another way to pick a book club pick is if you're so confused at the end you have to read it over, and not because your mind is going somewhere else, but literally it's written in such a way, even if it's well written, you're like, what is going on here? This is one of those books, by the way. And I think the third thing that makes a good book club pick is if it gives you perspectives of everyday things that you wouldn't have thought about before. So everybody has, everybody went through being a teenager. We the what we call the life. We examine life and the condition of life and being a human, and books that do that really well tend to make good book club picks because it's like peeking into another person's perspective, right? That's not mundane, or even if it is mundane, it's so different from yours or the group that you're in. All right, fine, I'm done with that. Okay, now this book is written in a way I think that's intentionally confusing. Sometimes it bounces between a few timelines and characters. When you listen to the audiobook, I listened to the audiobook of this, they're like 2 or 3 voices, and the perspective changes like twice in the book. And the first time it wasn't as jarring, but the second time you're like, wait, who is what? Because what happens is a flashback of in the 80s, these kids growing up in this performing arts school, and their 2 main characters, David and, I can't remember the other girl's name right now, but they are this secret couple, and they fall in love and they have sex, and they some of it is detailed and not in a very like, I get really squeamish about reading young adults because as much as I know it doesn't have mature content, the themes, it just makes me feel weird. So it was explicit in a sense, but not in a weird freaky world, right? This book was so well done because the descriptions are so good. The descriptions are so good, especially in the first part of the book, the first third, before you start getting thrown off by the point of view. It's so good. It's about these 2 characters, and they're from different stations in life, and they're in the same high school, and they have different experiences. One of them goes to Europe in the summer, and one of them lives with her mom, and she doesn't realize she's poor till she realizes how different the guy's life is. And it's just so interesting, like, and then it switches. There's the drama teacher who's gay and who lived a life in New York, and like maybe he was in drag, but you don't know, and he doesn't admit it based on the picture. And it's like they're little tidbits, and it's just written so well. And I just feel like it's the kind of book you could sit with and study, but you have to be willing to get frustrated. It goes to another point of view who is the first girl's like best friend at the end, and then it's describing, because what happens is one of the main characters, she writes this book about her time in high school, so you don't know if the first scene is actually her the real happenings or what she was writing in the book. And I know I'm spoiling it a little bit, but it's still worth reading because I guarantee you're still going to be confused. To this day I'm confused. I just haven't had time to go back into it. And it's called Trust Exercise, which they're theater kids. So, acting is a lot about trusting the next person. If you've seen anybody do improv, it's about like seeing the person do something and just yes, and adding to it, not negating it, not shutting it down. And so it's like a trust exercise, right? And so that's the name of the book. And it's such a good book. I couldn't give it 5 because I feel like it didn't need to be that confusing, and I think maybe that's what makes it great. But I feel like at the end I need to know. I don't need to have gone to, I don't know, I watched an interview with the author to know what was going on. And I know those tend to be the books that get seen as great, but that's just my personal frustration in why I couldn't give it a 5. And also I feel like it wasn't just a frustration, actually. It was the fact that it was not satisfying to me at the end, because I felt like all of this for what? And there was, yeah, I don't want to give anywhere. It was so good though. Trust Exercise is a good book. You should try that one. 3 is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This book is my favorite Emily Henry. Emily Henry is a popular contemporary romance author. If you haven't heard about her, she's done Book Lovers, she's done places people we see on meet on vacation. She's done, what's the one, Happy Place? I've read those 3. Book Lovers I really liked, and then I think, no, I like People We Meet on Vacation, then Book Lovers, then Happy Place. This is now my top. Okay, this is Daphne is a children's librarian and she does the voices. Okay, Miles works kind of like he's buys things on behalf of a winery. He works at a winery, and his coping mechanism for being broken up with is really soppy love songs. And Daphne and Miles get thrown together because their respective fiancés decide they want to be with each other. And Daphne, because her ex-fiance made more money, she got kicked out. So Miles and Daphne end up together as roommates. And it was very platonic at first, and then they became friends, and then they decided, not maliciously, that's what I really enjoyed about this. This is like a get back at them, but it's not malicious. They decide to post on Instagram and whatever and pretend like they're together, right? Just like the other people. They were best friends growing up, and you know, they both assure their respective partners like, hey, yeah, my best friend is of the opposite sex, but you don't have anything to worry about. People, they had something to worry about. Okay, and so the jilted decide to get together, or to appear to be together, and they actually get together and they like each other, and surprise surprise, the exes come back around and they don't get any play, and that is the simplest way to explain it, but it was so nice. I feel like that's where Emily Henry excels. She excels at writing tropes that we know, we've seen, but her characters are deep enough that we can enjoy them or hate them or whatever. My issue with Emily Henry, and why I don't think I've ever given her a 5-star, is they are just like a beach read, right? Or whatever it is. I personally don't need to go back and read them. I will forget some of the details. I'll know if I liked it or not, but I don't feel like I need to go back. I feel like with this one, I would actually read it again. And I feel like she gave Miles, who is the male main character, she gave him a slight plot twist that early on that we didn't see coming. Like, we thought he was kind of like worthless, kind of like a bum, and he wasn't. But she wrote him that you were thinking he was gonna be that, and then he turned out not to be, and it was pleasant. And you're in for the ride, like seeing that you think, oh, he's just gonna be like a pothead or whatever, and you know, not really do anything, but you're like, well, you know, he's the main character, so how does this play out? I feel like she did that really well. And even though I'm telling you, it is worth reading. If you just like a nice romance that's not gonna, you know, just, you're gonna feel great, but you're not gonna feel like, what, this isn't worth my time, this is a good one. So I really liked this one, and it's my favorite Emily Henry so far. Book number 4 is my first advanced reader copy for this month, and this one is called A Legend in the Baking by Jamie Wesley, and this is number 2 in the Fake It Till You Bake It series. So this series is about a trio of football players and best friends who open some cupcake shops together. And well, they have one successful one going, and so the first book was about, I have not read the first book, but I would actually go back and read it based on this one. So the first book is the perspective of the first guy and the girl that he gets with, and they've opened a successful cupcake shop and business, right? So now they're going to open their second location, and it takes the story of the second guy and the first guy's sister. And this trope is basically It Was Always You. Chef's kiss trope, okay? When people are nobody has to suffer. Sometimes in these romances, people have to suffer in love, you know. The trope, it was always you. So essentially, this couple knew each other growing up because the guy, August, would come to their family home in breaks in college, and he would also tutor her, I think, with math or something on the phone. And they basically had a relationship by phone that her brother and his friend didn't really know it was that deep, you know. But I think by the end, everybody kind of knew. But he went on to marry some girl or whatever. And so they did separate things, you know. And now, fast forward, he's divorced. She comes along, she's quit her job recently, and she has to figure out what she's gonna do. She does not want to work for the bakery. She does not want to work for her brother's cupcake. She doesn't want to feel like she's getting handouts, even though she's got, you know, rent to pay, whatever. So she's like, can she do this? She doesn't really want to. And in the end, you know, because she's helping them out and it's helping her, she actually applies for some jobs. She gets like to the next round of interviews, but her and somebody she knew coincidentally from college, who's like a rival, are going for the same position. And so they have to prove why. They have to manage a up and coming company and basically do a campaign, and whoever has the best results is who's gonna get the job. And so she takes on her brother's and her love interest's cupcake place as the client to increase their engagement, etc. And so she ends up working closer with August, who is a baker and who ends up going viral accidentally for speaking up about something, and she manages the whole situation. And it was really cute. It was definitely one of those, like, you know, like one of those Lifetime Hallmark type books, but I thought it was really nice. Sometimes I find that some of those books, the authors know it is what it is, and we need those, okay? It doesn't have to be 5-star. It doesn't have to be like peak use of language and vocabulary and literary prowess. You know, it can just be an enjoyable book. And this was that, but it was a little bit more. Like, you can tell that this author can write. You can tell that she's her English isn't lazy, you know. Her turns of phrase are thoughtful, and I appreciate it. Like, I want to go back and read the previous book and read the next one. So it's not change your life type of book, but it is worth the read to me. And I like Black authors who don't feel like it's, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's unrelatable for other cultures or anything like that, you know. But it's still definitively Black, you know. So I really enjoyed that. So yeah, this was a good book. 3 out of 5. Right, so book number 5 is my first number 5 out of 5, and it's called The Luckiest Lady in London by Sherry Thomas, and it's number 1 of the London trilogy. I don't know if I've read, sometimes I end up reading romances I've read before, but I didn't use Goodreads before this year, so I forget, and then I might remember small details as I'm rereading, and I think I've read this before, but I forgot most of it. But this, so if you've been watching any of these by now, you know I'm a romance girl. Historical is my favorite, and this was a 5. this was a fight. This was banter. This was him falling and not even knowing what to do with himself, like being sick to his stomach that he's falling and not being able to do anything about it. Love that. This is her like being like, so she's she's husband hunting and he realizes it, and she knows because they're destitute, and she knows he would be the best catch money wise, like in terms of attraction, being attractive, stuff like that, but she doesn't even set her cap for him. And she kind of is like, she's not aloof, she's not like ignoring him completely, but she's like not even looking his way, and he's intrigued. He's like, who is this person? Even if you know I'm above your station, like why are you not even ogling me? Like why are you not even looking? And he basically gets to her to say, listen, the ones that you're considering, like they're not it, like you might as well just try for me. And he actually, it's true for some of them, but one of them was fine. He told a lie. She doesn't learn that till later on, but she's like, well, I know he was like the one, like the most, she knew he was like the most desirable one, but she didn't have any, what's the word, any basis to even try for him, you know. So she's a nobody. So in the end, fast forward, they get married, whatever, and the banter is on point. Like they're doing the, because you know they're courting basically, but he's coming to court her because first he's just curious, but then he just can't stay away. And then they get married, and it's like, you know, they're both having a great time and whatever. And I can't even remember what the conflict is now. I've already forgotten what their main conflict was, but one key conflict for him was his parents. He didn't come from a happy home, and so he almost was fearful. He didn't want to fall in love. Oh yeah, this is what happened. Okay, his dad loved his mom, but his mom made his dad think, because she didn't want to marry him initially, made him think that he, the guy, the main character, was somebody else's son. Oh, my focus is out. The mom made the dad think that he was somebody else's son. Now that's messed up, first of all. And so he was just a toy. He was like a tool to manipulate the other. And the dad would bring her all these gifts to try to, you know, win her over and whatever, and she would ignore him basically, and also only bring the child around to be like coo over him in the presence of the dad, having told the dad, hey, he's not yours. So just really messed up stuff. So he didn't want to feel that strongly for anyone, and of course when that happened to him, he's freaking the hell out. So all of that is to say, I enjoyed this book. I would read it again, and that's all I'm gonna say on that one. Book number 6 is called The Trouble with Honor, and it's by The Trouble with Honor by Julia London, and it's #1 in the Cabot Sisters trilogy. So this book I gave 3 out of 5. I almost gave it 2, but I gave it 3 out of 5. I almost gave it 2, but it really wasn't that bad. My challenge was only the first 10 and last 10% of this book were interesting for the most part. I think the premise, it had such promise. They meet in a gambling hall, like women aren't allowed, she's gambling, he's good at it, she wins, he's basically a professional gambler. You know, she needs to marry, stuff like that, they're attracted to each other. He's also the bastard by the technical meaning, right? The child of an unmarried coupling of a duke, and so people know it, but he was never claimed. And so he doesn't really have, he's kind of in and out of society, one foot in, one foot out. And she needs to marry well, and that is not well. So they were kind of doomed, and yeah, we've seen that lots of times, but I feel like you can do it well, you know what I mean? Anyways, it was very mediocre. I think if you enjoy steamy scenes, like detailed steamy scenes, you like this. it was very detailed. I don't know, some authors choose to just, like, you can see where they put their focus. I don't know if that was intentional, but the focus you put into those, if you put that into the plot, babe, we would have been a 4 or a 5, you know what I mean? But it's not a bad book. I would, honestly, would I? No, because I had the option of reading the second in the trilogy, and I'm not that interested. It was being set up like the second sister went away to try to, like, you know, get herself situated. She was gonna approach someone for marriage, whatever, and I'm not that intrigued to go read it. Not above others, it meant to be red list. So 3 out of 5 stars for that one. Number 7, You Made a Fool Out of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. 5 out of 5. If you look at the rating, the reviews on this book, some of them are very low. This book people feel very strongly about. You hate it or love it, it looks like. And for me, I loved it because of how the author wrote grief. If you realize that everything in this book, the decisions the lady makes, are honestly deplorable sometimes. One night stand, not one night, but hooking up with somebody in a bathroom, not using protection. You've never met this person in your life, and that is within the first chapter of the book. You don't know where you're going from there. What is this? Some people, you can tell it rubbed them the wrong way from the outset, and for me, I was like, what is this? But also, there must, and I was, from the way the book was titled, I was waiting to see where that came in. If you're mentioning death, it is for a reason. So I stuck it out. Come to find out, this lady's a widow. So grief, she makes terrible decisions in grief. It's been 5 years since her husband died. She's trying to enter dating again. She's trying to imagine what her life is. She's still grieving. She's an artist. All her art is centered around grief. She still has nightmares from this. They were involved in an accident. Her husband died. She's going through grief. This book is one of those like record scratch in the middle plot twist books, because we're going along a trajectory. I told you what happened in the first chapter. We meet somebody else who's the friend of that guy. So there's no bro code. Because what? And then, and I'm also like, are you self-respecting? What are you doing? Mind you, I'm still sticking it out, because at this point we just about know she was married. We just about know she was married. And if she was married, it means she's no longer married, and we can guess somebody died based on the title of the book. So I stick it out. Now we're at a point where there's another plot twist. Homegirl gets with his dad. And I am not one for drama. I do not enjoy drama. You'll never catch me watching Grey's Anatomy. You'll never catch me watching those shows that are serial dramas that rely on something outrageous happening to keep going. I don't have time for it. So I stuck this out again because I'm like, there must be a point. And we kind of get it. By that second plot twist, we kind of get to where it's going. So a lot of this happens definitely in the last 50% of the book is where you get the point. But all of this is about grief, right? So a lot of it took a while to get to where. So you have to be patient with this book. And I was okay with it. I had to walk away a few times. Like, am I really going to finish this book? But I was like, no, there must be you can't make such a strong title and you don't get the point. So all of this was about grief, and it's about finding love after grief. Mind you, I hope I never experienced that kind of grief, but I get it. I get it. You find your life partner and they're gone and you don't know how to pick up, and also you're an artist, so you're already super sensitive and creative and in tune with just like, you already don't care, right? The kind of art she makes, like, it was really beautiful to read. And the imagery, I feel like this book was dark, and I don't generally enjoy that, but it was dark in an artsy way. Like it was just a theme of grief, and it was finding romance of a grief. It also gives the visual of like a phoenix. You know, they're just like look like they're about to die, and they're very poorly, and then they just like burst into flames and just get reborn. And I feel like pretty much that's what happened with the main character in this book. And that's why I appreciate it, and I can appreciate where people are coming from, because if you just read the things she did in the book, you're like, are you grown up? Like, what are you doing with your life? But I get it, and so I gave this 5 out of 5. I feel like I'd read this again. I feel like I'd want to sit with it and like think, like imagine the art too, because she's an artist, and she like their descriptions of the art she makes, and I just feel like it's so cool. You know, can you imagine being able to turn your grief into something like that? And it's also made me curious about the author's experience with grief herself, how she'd be able to imagine and think about that. I didn't look into it, but it made me curious if it really is just like, you know, fictional, or it's coming from some personal experience. So yeah, that was really good. So I think that could also be a good book club pick, because you'd want to fight her, and even if you don't mean physically fight, you'd be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like you look at somebody, you want to judge them, but you know you're trying to be a better person, so you don't just judge them. You ask them. You're like, what are you? Explain to me, because maybe I'm missing something here. Tell me what's going on. What's going on? You know, like that. This 8th book is called Christmas in Spite of You by Casey Mills. Black author, black romance. Love it. This is my second advance reader copy of the month. It's giving Christmas movie vibes. It's about Christmas time. The main character, her name's Noelle. Come on. She is a designer, a virtual designer for spaces, and she's pretty much on her last leg financially, because she's trying to start up her business, you know, so she's running low, and she decides to like Airbnb. Basically, they don't call it that in the book, but basically Airbnb her place, because she can't afford to go to her family for Christmas. She's a Christmas girl through and through. She does the sweaters, she does the traditions, everything. She gives everybody in her building gifts. Like, she's that kind of girl, right? Bringing this guy, he's corporate, traditional corporate, not really into Christmas, came from money. He comes to try to get close. He knows where the person lives, the Noelle, and the person he wants to meet with live in the same building. So his goal is just to be in the same vicinity as this person, so he can try to get a business deal, to present himself for a business deal, to be on the table, right? To be in the room, literally. So he's come to sublet this place for like 2 weeks over Christmas, and homegirl is trying to cancel the thing. She reads his confirmation email and thinks, oh, it's cancelled, because she's hopped up on drugs right now, she's not feeling well. Goes to sleep. She's in her bed one day. Somebody enters the combination on the door, comes in. So this could have gone really wrong, but it goes really right, and they spend time together. He's definitely the Scrooge type, not into Christmas. His mom makes it a production. It's more about the pictures and everything being perfect, so he doesn't have a fondness for it. And Noelle is gung-ho, like themes, t-shirts, sweaters, the whole 9. Real Christmas tree, don't offend me with a fake Christmas tree kind of girl, okay? And I think that attention to detail in it and the development of the characters, even within the small book, because that's the thing, right? When you watch a Lifetime or a Hallmark Christmas movie, there's only so much about the characters. It's the same story over and over, which is why we love them. It's mindless TV, and we can just get in the spirit. But we don't get that much about the characters, right? Other than what we need to progress the plot. But I feel like there was enough there for you to know if you actually think this is a good person or not, or you actually like this person. The secondary characters were well done, like Noelle's best friend and the guy's exec assistant, stuff like that. And I just really like this book. I I liked this book, I would read it again, like as a Christmas, like I'd read it again, maybe not like 5 times, but I'd read it again at Christmas time if I had a day off and I was just chilling, playing some jazz in the background or baking, like reading between, just having a really chill day. I would read this again. It was really sweet. There's a happily ever after with an epilogue, which is really nice, a family epilogue, and I liked this. I liked the secondary characters too. Even the concierge in the building, he had a role in the family. It was really nice. And I like reading black books that don't come off as just tacky and like did you even spell check? There were no even as for an advanced reader copy, there was no I didn't see any grammatical errors, and it's close enough to publication, but still sometimes things fall through the cracks. And I just feel like I really enjoyed this. Like, I would, if you wanted a really nice Christmas read, you're traveling or holiday read, I would recommend this regardless of if you're black. It was really sweet. So of the Christmas themed books, was this the only Christmas themed book? This was the only Christmas themed book. But yeah, this this month I've done another Christmas themed book. I definitely recommend this over the other one I did. That was also an advanced reader copy. I think it was A Christmas in the Baking or something like that. Yeah, I prefer this one. All right, so book 9 out of 9 for this month's reading wrap. The Mother Act by Heidi Reimer. I gave it 3 stars, and I thought by how visceral people's reaction to this was, oh, mother-daughter. Everybody has a mother, right? You were born from somebody, and whether you have a mother figure in your life, everybody had a mother. And with that in itself, regardless of the relationship, positive or negative, there comes some feelings around that about mothers. And I firmly think that a lot of people are just saying, oh, there are a lot of mother-daughter. It's a mother-daughter book, and so it's great. Not saying people haven't read it. Even if you've had a terrible relationship with your mother, which this book is more leaning towards that side, it's not leaning towards a positive relationship, you're not necessarily going to get something from this, because the girl, the daughter, I'm sorry, I want to fight her. The lady's in the wrong, and she's letting her walk all over her for the majority of the book. And we give her grace because this is happening pretty much over her lifetime. So it takes the 2 perspectives, the mother and the daughter, and it takes different points in their lives, or in the daughter's life, essentially. Actually, both of their lives, because it does flash back to when the mom was growing up and why she is the way she is. That being said, I think a lot of this was just because it's something that most people are supposed to be able to identify with. And by a lot of this, I mean a lot of the reviews about, yay, mother-daughter relationship. Like, I think that's what makes, again, a good book club pick. It makes, if there are a lot of polarizing opinions on it, you'll have a really good discussion in a book club, right? It wasn't that great for me. There was not much of a resolution. It was very abrupt in the end, if you ask me. This was another book this month, I was sure, and I'm not a quitter, like, unless this is like doing absolutely nothing for me. If I have the slightest curiosity about how it ends, I will stick it out. If I am genuinely not even curious, because pissing me off is one thing. I'm not going to stop because it's pissing me off. But if it's not even piquing my curiosity throughout, I'm not going to bother. What's the point? There are other things I'm actually interested in reading. So with that said, I was curious till the very end. The book held you captive till the very end. You wanted to see how it played out. But the way it played out was a very short piece at the end. We get the reasoning behind why she was the way she was, but it's not okay. And I think the moral of this story, I don't think it comes in trying to give, there's some books that come in trying to give you a moral of the story explicitly. Essentially, they're trying to hammer something over your head. This book, I don't think, was trying to do that, as much as it's touting mother-daughter relationships and what could go wrong. It's not trying to tell you what to do. So I respect that too, because sometimes authors can get preachy and everybody doesn't like that. But I also think like it didn't stand for anything. The daughter didn't stand for anything. The mother didn't stand for anything. The mother, even she stood up for she stood for herself, right? She said a lot of mothers are selfish. That's not new. But even within that, at the end, she was kind of making an about face. And even if you're gonna stand on business and it's not about growth, I like when people have growth. But it was very much, it was anti-character. It wasn't just, okay, I'm trying to be a better person. With the vim and vigor that she gave to being a terrible mom, she was very, very mild at the end, right? So have the same, I don't, it was very, it just seemed out of, you know. At one point the daughter said, what do you want from me? I think that was the realest thing, because she didn't have any affirmative, and part of it was her personality. I know I'm going on about this because, but again, that's what makes a good book club book, okay, or a book worth reading, you know, even for it to challenge the way you think about things. So I'm gonna try to stop, but I wasn't super satisfied with the way it ended. I feel like people should get what they deserve, and it's not about holding a grudge forever, but you need to know you hurt me. You need to know you hurt me. This lady was told you hurt me, and what did she do? She did the thing again that she knew would hurt a girl. She still made it about her. She still made it about her in the end. The dad was there. He was pretty much on the lady's side, the mom's side. And that was hurtful to the girl too. And my feelings were hurt for her. I'm too empathetic. That's my problem. I'm too empathetic. And the reason I want to fight the daughter too is because I'm thinking, how are you going to let this? It doesn't matter if she's your mother. She doesn't talk to you that way. How are you going to let her keep just treating you like this? But it was a good book. 3 for me. It wasn't, again, because there wasn't a moral of the story. Because I couldn't even say definitively the moral was give people a chance. I think that would be the closest thing. Give people a chance, you never know how it might turn out. But honestly, don't take this book as recommended. Just go to a therapist. You know, all of these things are personal, every situation is different. But yeah, it was an okay book. So anyways, with that, that's all 9 books. I am pleased that I read 9 good books this month. Some months are hit and miss. Honestly, I wouldn't say 9 good. I think I said 7 good books. Not just by ratings, right? All of them are fine. I don't regret reading them. I say this every month, right? Some books are just meant to be okay. We love them because they're okay. We read, we have another perspective. We're outside of our own lives for a little while, for a few days. That's fine. We love it. And then the ones I'd say read for sure. Trust Exercise. The Mother Act. You Are Here. Different flavors. So You Are Here is romance. Anybody can read it, even your grandma. Trust Exercise. I wouldn't give that to my grandma. But I give it to another friend my age who's like, or somebody who likes theater, drama, acting. So there are 2 books for theater and acting in this. There's a theme. The Mother Act. So your theater buff friends, The Mother Act, and that's mother-daughter relationship. So anybody could get something out of it, but they might not necessarily. And Trust Exercise. That was really interesting. I'm going to be super busy between now and the end of the year. Expect my books to drop, my number of books to drop most likely. I'll still be reading, but maybe not 9 a month. You know, I might be back down to like 6. So let's see. Let me know. All right. So if you have anything to do with college, university, school, you have kids, have a good first semester. And I'll see you next month.